when they remake a classic movie and the remake is even better than the original? Well, that is exactly what Raycon is doing right now with their fan favorite Everyday Earbuds Classic. This video is sponsored by RAYCON wireless earbuds. These earbuds have active noise cancellation, which blocks out the noise while I'm working on my videos, and the 32-hour battery life keeps me going all day. The optimized gel tips are super comfortable, no slipping out while I'm working out, and I love the crisp sound for listening to my videos and podcasts. Click on the link below or go to buyraycon.com/SPTV to get 20% off fan favorite Everyday Earbuds Classic. Raycons rival big brands at half the price, so grab yours today. Go to buyraycon.com/SPTV to get 20% off fan favorite Everyday Earbuds Classic. Aaron is back, everyone. Welcome back for more SPTV, where every day is a great day not to be in a cult. Guys, things are heating up between Scientology and the City of Clearwater. Never mind all the other legal drama occurring between me and the Church of Scientology in Clearwater. By the way, quick update on that. In my video yesterday, I said I was just going to use a public defender. I don't really know what I was thinking. I'm absolutely hiring an attorney. I've already lined an attorney up. It's an attorney who is already an expert in Scientology and also an expert in defending protesters against Scientology. So stay tuned for that. I'll have more info for you on that when I have more info. Okay. Also, real quick update. Getting the SPTV Foundation approved for the YouTube giving program. I was finally able to resolve the one little issue, and I have been able to reapply formally reapply for approval for the YouTube giving program, and I should hear back on that in a few days. Also, I know people in the live chat are saying we don't know why our screen names have been replaced by our @ handles. And I don't either. So I'm checking into that. And when I have an answer, I will let you guys know. Okay, what's happening with Scientology in the City of Clearwater? Scientology has once again had their attorney fire off a very strongly worded letter to the City of Clearwater's attorney, threatening to sue for religious discrimination if the City of Clearwater does not give Scientology the street they have asked for. I said give, not sell. Before Scientology was in negotiations with the city to buy the street, when the city declined to vote to sell the street to Scientology, they said, you know what? We've changed our minds. We think it's illegal for you to sell it to us. So you're just going to give it to us. This is fascinating stuff, you guys. I can't think of anything more exciting than to see Scientology involved in an actual lawsuit against the City of Clearwater. See, Scientology likes to threaten lawsuits. They don't actually like to bring lawsuits. It's really been 20 to 30 years since Scientology has sued anyone or anything. And the last several times they have tried to sue someone, it's gone very, very badly for them and cost them an awful lot of money, millions and millions and millions of dollars. I do not think Scientology is actually going to follow through with a lawsuit here, but you never know. Yeah. Past results are not a guarantee of future results or future behavior. Okay, let's take this one step at a time. Here is very quickly the reporting that that the Tampa Bay Times has done on this. Then I'm going to share with you the most recent letter from Scientology's attorney. So here's the thing from the Tampa Bay Times. Scientology preparing to resubmit application for Clearwater Road. City Council directed the city attorney to write a memorandum of opinion on July 7th. By the way, that's a memorandum of opinion from the city attorney that basically says that in the opinion of the city attorney, Scientology does not have a right to just take ownership of this road in the case of a vacation. Anyway, here we go. The Church of Scientology is preparing to resubmit its application to acquire a contested portion of land in downtown Clearwater, according to a letter sent to city officials this month from an attorney representing Scientology. The letter draws on opinions outlined by Florida Attorney General James Uthmeyer in a letter previously sent to Mayor Bruce Rector in support of Scientology's forthcoming submission. I want to clarify this right off the bat. The Florida Attorney General simply sent a letter to Mayor Bruce Rector of Clearwater, Florida, informing him that, according to Florida law, the City of Clearwater, in the opinion of the Florida Attorney General, is not allowed to ask Scientology for anything in exchange for vacating the city's right of way for this street. The Attorney General did not say the City of Clearwater has the right to doesn't have the right to deny Scientology's application for the vacation of the right of way. He just said you don't have legal standing to ask for anything in return, whether it be money or whether it be activation of many of Scientology's 100 vacant and unactivated properties. You have to either vote yes or you have to vote no, but you cannot, the vote cannot be contingent on getting something in return. And also, of course, your vote, it cannot be based on religious discrimination. That is all the Florida Attorney General said. The Florida Attorney General's letter was not in support of anything. It was just making sure the rules were clear. Okay. The letter draws on opinions outlined by Florida Attorney General James Uthmeier in a letter previously sent to Mayor Bruce Rector in support of Scientology's forthcoming submission. Robert V. Potter, a Clearwater attorney who addressed his July 3rd letter to City Attorney David Margolis, cited Uthmeier's assertions. Quote, and then the letter said, quote, "We agree with the Attorney General. The city is subjecting my client to an unlawful process." I should just finish. The Attorney General did not claim that the City of Clearwater was subjecting Scientology to an unlawful process. So don't let the language of the letter from Scientology's attorney incorrectly color any interpretation of what has actually been communicated on the record. Okay, Scientology's lawyer says, "We agree with the Attorney General. The city is subjecting my client to an unlawful process that has never been imposed on an applicant in a similar situation in the history of Clearwater." Well, there never has been a similar situation in the history of Clearwater. Sure, property developers request vacations of rights of way in many different scenarios. Never in a scenario where the street for which a request is being submitted is one of the main arteries in downtown Clearwater. So I'm just going to jump ahead and screen share for you real quick the street that's in discussion. You see the pin that's been dropped. This pin is being dropped right now on Scientology's largest building in Clearwater. It's actually Scientology's largest building in the entire world. It's called the Flag Building. It's called the Superpower Building as well. It's located at 215 South Fort Harrison Avenue. Okay, that is a massive building in downtown Clearwater. The street that they are requesting be vacated is the one right here that is now in the middle of the screen. It's 1 block long. It is a block of South Garden Avenue. Scientology owns the property to the left of the street. Scientology owns the property to the right of the street. Look what's just south of the street. The single largest artery that runs through the entire city of Clearwater and especially the downtown district. This is called, it says Court Street. It's also known as Route 60. Court Street runs to the west. Traffic is one way. And 1 block south of Court Street, you have Chestnut Street. Traffic runs to the right. Court and Chestnut are combined the single largest artery of traffic through the city of Clearwater. It connects the beach. If I zoom out let's see. If I zoom out all the way, you will see Clearwater Beach to the west. You then have Route 60, which connects Clearwater Beach to mainland downtown Clearwater, and then runs all the way to east where it connects to US 19. I cannot overstate this. This is the largest artery running through the city of Clearwater. This 1 block that they are requesting be vacated is one of the only few side streets that allows citizens, tourists, locals, visitors, whatever, to exit the main artery and enter Clearwater's downtown core without getting caught in the gridlock traffic that can build up right here at the intersection of Court Street and Fort Harrison Avenue. So when Scientology and its attorney claims that never before has the city of Clearwater denied a request to vacate a right-of-way, that's what they're leaving out. Is never before in the history of Clearwater has an organization, a group, a developer asked the city to vacate a right-of-way for a key street in its downtown core. It's absolutely a disingenuous argument. Okay, let's go back to the reporting. Okay, Scientology wants to purchase the Garden Avenue Road segment between Franklin and Court Streets. It is proposed using the space for a performance hall and plaza. Yes, they're calling it L. Ron Hubbard Hall. The sale was tentatively approved in March, but Scientology withdrew its request after losing support to a counterproposal that would use the space to memorialize African-American history. The Tampa Bay Times has documented that entities associated with Scientology have acquired more than 200 properties downtown and left many of them inactive. Some council members and residents have expressed concern that Scientology has made little use of the holdings, leaving empty storefronts that have hindered the downtown's growth. That's the other thing that really is worthy of being emphasized here, is that Scientology is claiming we're being treated in a way that no one else has ever been treated. And you go, yes, but your organization has behaved in a way that no other organization has behaved. And not as a religion, but as a member of Clearwater's downtown core. No other organization or group has purchased hundreds of properties and lots and left them vacant and abandoned in a commercial district to basically wage economic war against the city of Clearwater. There's a lot of things here that are not equal, and it has nothing to do with bigoted treatment towards the cult of Scientology. Okay, without using Scientology's name, Florida Attorney General Uthmeyer's May 29 letter said that the city could not condition a transfer of property on how the purchaser, a religious institution, has used other parcels it owns or controls. And that seems fair. City council members discussed the letter at last week's work session and agreed to officially ask Clearwater City Attorney David Margolis to write a memorandum of opinion. The council had discussed doing so in a meeting last month, but ultimately opted to continue to seek Margolis's opinion in individual private meetings. Okay, David Margolis said there is no legal urgency to prepare a memorandum, but that it is a good time to address it since the issue will likely come up again. Okay, good. Margolis noted that there is anxiety, a request, pressure, whatever we want to call it, from Scientology and Scientology's representatives, both coming our way as well as apparently coming to Mr. Uthmeyer's office. He also acknowledged significant public interest from other community members. Okay, Mayor Bruce Rector noted that Uthmeyer, Florida Attorney General Uthmeyer, has no jurisdiction over street vacation and that a court might be a better place to resolve the matter, said Rector. This is what I like. Finally, a Clearwater, Florida mayor not afraid to tell Scientology, if you have a problem with what's happening here, you can take us to court. See, Bruce Rector is a lawyer himself. So you have Mayor Bruce Rector and you have City Attorney David Margolis, both attorneys, both of whom are saying this is a non-issue. Scientology is basically acting like a spoiled little brat, running to the Florida Attorney General saying, my pearls, our rights are being violated. And the Florida Attorney General just sent a letter to cover his bases to the mayor, said, make sure there's no religious discrimination going on here. But the Florida AG has no jurisdiction over a street vacation. Now, does the Florida Attorney General have jurisdiction over religious discrimination? And yes, of course. But David Margolis, well, let him speak for himself. I think it's coming up here. Here he goes. Bruce Rector noted that Uthmeyer has no jurisdiction over street vacation. A court might be a better place to resolve the matter, said Bruce Rector. Clearwater has not been threatened with litigation, David Margolis told the Times in an email after the work session, but the memorandum will discuss the possibility of litigation and will share David Margolis's perspective as to why the city can easily defend itself if needed. That's what I like. That's the kind of language I like to hear, not shying away from Scientology's bullied legal threats, threatened lawfare. Now, two of the 5 city council members who are very clearly working for Scientology were like, what? My pearls! I would never allow the hard-won tax revenues of the Clearwater citizens to be used on something as frivolous as defending a lawsuit from Scientology that could have been easily avoided by just giving them what they want. Please make the beating stop. At least 2 people up on that dais have some backbone. And to be perfectly honest, I think 4 people on that dais have some backbone. As of right now, it seems to be Council Member David Albritton, Council Member Lena Teixeira, Council Member and Mayor Bruce Rector, and City Attorney David Margolis. It is Council Member Ryan Cotton and Council Member Michael Menino who are like, oh my God, we have to give David Miscavige what he wants right now, or our bonus checks will not be arriving in the mail. Allegedly. Okay, so let me share with you just for fun the actual most recent letter that Scientology's attorney sent to city attorney David Margolis, and you let me know if this looks like a threat of a lawsuit. I know David Margolis, was conservatively telling the Tampa Bay Times, we have not been threatened, and technically that's probably true. The threat has very much been implied, but not stated. So let's take a look at this. Here's the right one from Johnson Pope. Okay, so this was surprisingly 2 weeks ago already. Dear Mr. Margolis, I write to address the comments made during the Clearwater City Council's July 7th work session discussion regarding the letter the City Council received from Attorney General Uthmeier on May 29th. In his letter, Uthmeier noted that comments made during a prior work session and council meeting suggested a discriminatory motive underlying the decisions by the city. AG Uthmeier specifically stated, the city's decision to grant or deny a petition to vacate may be influenced by religious animus toward the petitioner. Okay, I believe he's saying that because of the language that has been used, it may appear that the decision to vacate has been influenced by religious animus toward the petitioner. Now, here's where Scientology's attorneys are very intentionally misstating and misrepresenting things. Talking about how the organization that is the Church of Scientology has purchased up hundreds of properties in the downtown core and left them vacant has nothing to do with religious animus. It has nothing to do with being bigoted against a belief system or being bigoted against an organization. Any developer who would ever, a non-religious entity coming before the city, asking for this or asking for that, that developer's history of performance and execution would, of course, be taken into consideration and examined and commented upon when reviewing any applications from that developer. If they constantly had a history of not meeting obligations, making promises and breaking them, having failed projects, stalled projects, that would, of course, be relevant and would have nothing to do with bigotry. That's what we're dealing with when it comes to the Church of Scientology. Now, the Church of Scientology wants to take any criticism of their behavior and call it bigotry. But that's, of course, that's what they would do. And of course, that's what their attorneys would do. And it seems to me that it's very obvious to Mayor Bruce Rector and City Attorney David Margolis that that is exactly what's happening. And I believe that the Florida Attorney General also sees that that's what's happening. He's just crossing his T's and dotting his I's, in my personal opinion. But what do I know, guys? I grew up in a cult. Okay. Uthmeier further specifically noted the discriminatory nature of the mayor's characterization of the, quote, larger discussion as a divide between our citizens and the religious institution petitioning for vacation of the plat. This is, again, wordplay. In many cases, when the mayor was just speaking off the cuff up there, he'd say, the city council, we're here to concern ourselves with what's best for the citizens, not a private property owner, not an applicant. And someone might think that sort of implies that the Church of Scientology or Scientologists are somehow separate from the citizens. But of course, that's not what was stated. That is not what was stated at all. It's just that, let's say all citizens individually, we are citizens of Clearwater. But like if I, as a private property owner, put in some sort of an application to do something with, property I own or property I want to develop, my application is for what's best for me. Okay. So I might be a citizen, but I'm, and a member of the public and, the citizens, but I'm also a private individual. And when I put in an application, I'm applying to do something that I want to do, what I think is best for me as a private individual. And so, if you want to frame the conversation as the city, the approval, maybe the planning and development department or whatever has to weigh what's best for me versus the citizens, it doesn't preclude me from also being a citizen. But again, this is just Scientology crying bigotry wherever they think they can. Okay, so let's see. Unfortunately, the July 7th work session did nothing to allay concerns. During the work session, council members made comments that directly parallel those criticized by Attorney General Uthmeier. Quote, from the city standpoint, the citizens' standpoint, we are in no hurry to do this. I understand the property owner is very anxious to get it done, but we are not. So there you go, guys. There's a distinction between the property owner and the citizens. And of course, the property owner is also among the citizens, but this is not exclusionary or bigoted language. Okay, next quote. I would hope that we are, keeping in mind that we work for the citizens and it's the property owner's job to advocate for their own position. Again, differentiating between the citizens and the property owner, but, they're not They are not mutually exclusive. Okay, the letter continues. Scientology is not just a property owner. There are certainly developments in Clearwater where the property owner is not a citizen, but is run and operated from outside this community. That is not the case here. Both the Church of Scientology and thousands of its parishioners are citizens of Clearwater. Any suggestion they are somehow separate or distinct from other citizens in Clearwater is both inaccurate and discriminatory. My pearls! Additionally, Scientology is by far the highest taxpayer in downtown and has been for over 25 years. Last year, over $9 million was paid by Scientology in taxes and utilities. I love how they put those two things in the same category, taxes and utilities. And of course, all of Scientology's parishioners pay taxes as well. Let me point out, I know some people will be surprised to hear that Scientology paid any property taxes of any kind whatsoever. Here's why. Scientology does not pay taxes. Scientology has to pay taxes on any of its properties that are restaurants or hotels because they cannot claim religious use for restaurants or hotels. Approximately 20% of all of Scientology's property is restaurant or hotel. So they pay taxes on approximately only 1/5 of their property. And that still makes them by far the biggest taxpayer, not in all of Clearwater, but in downtown Clearwater. So whereas on one hand, Scientology likes to use that as a feather in their cap, like they want a pat on the back for being Scientology's largest property owner or largest taxpayer in the downtown core. But check out what it implies. It implies that they own so much damn property that is not being taxed, that by only paying taxes on 1/5 of their property, they are easily the largest taxpayer in downtown. So whereas they seem to think it's like a feather in their cap, it's actually a real indictment of the economic damage they have done to downtown Clearwater, especially since almost all of the property they own is vacant, inactive, and kept that way intentionally to keep non-Scientologists from having something to come to in downtown Clearwater. Okay. The letter continues. Particularly surprising were Mayor Bruce Rector's repeated dismissals of A.G. Uthmeyer's letter and his professed refusal to be intimidated by the property owner. Among Bruce Rector's remarks, quote, "I don't know what letter the property owner is pitching to folks. That is some Supreme Court ruling." I'm sorry, is it wrong to refer to Scientology as a property owner? Like what? I don't see the problem with that quote. Next quote. "I'm not going to let a property owner intimidate me by waiving that letter and try to intimidate me into approaching my role as a city council member differently just because they're threatening us with a letter from the attorney general and potential action or whatever." See, at least Bruce Rector is acknowledging that there is threatening with action or potential action. Okay, next quote. "I'm not going to be intimidated by the property owner who keeps waiving that. Now, their attorney has written us trying to intimidate us into choosing to not vacate the street. I'm not going to do that." I don't see what's wrong with these quotes. Next quote. "I think the property owner is trying to pull in attorney general here in a way that I don't think I don't really understand that." Okay. Letter continues. "Apparently, it is upsetting that Scientology and its parishioners wish to move forward and build their hall and are pressing to do so. A developer building a hotel and pushing for a resolution to an issue would not be accused of intimidation. Just as delays would result in added costs for that hotel developer, such delays create both economic and spiritual burdens for Scientology." Spiritual burdens for Scientology. What's the spiritual burden? To the viewers, this building that Scientology is trying to build, wanting to build, claiming they can't build it if Clearwater doesn't give them this street. It's just an event hall. It's just a place to hold Scientology's events. The same events that they have been holding for about 40 years, 5 or 6 times a year, without any problems. There's no spiritual burden for not being able to break ground on their new event hall. They hold their annual New Year's Eve event is that at the Shrine Auditorium? At the Shrine Auditorium in Los Angeles. They hold their annual L. Ron Hubbard birthday celebration event at Ruth Eckerd Hall in Clearwater, Florida. They hold their annual summer events celebrating the anniversary of the maiden voyage of their Free Winds ship in a big tent on L. Ron Hubbard Way over the summer months. They hold their annual celebration of the anniversary of the founding of the International Association of Scientologists on a giant 40,000-foot tent on their property in St. Hill, England. There's no spiritual duress or pressure. The other thing I wanted to comment on, they say a developer building a hotel and pushing for a resolution to an issue would not be accused of intimidation. That's right. And a developer building a hotel would expect to need to have a good, professional, cordial relationship with the City of Clearwater officials if they wanted to get what they wanted from the City of Clearwater, and wouldn't expect to be able to threaten and pressure and intimidate the council into compliance by running to the Florida Attorney General crying religious discrimination and bigotry. And if that developer had been involved in economic warfare with the City of Clearwater for the last 40 years, they probably wouldn't expect their request to vacate a street at the last minute to be declined. And also for the viewers, one of the things the city council members has pointed out is Scientology does not need the street in order to start building their hall. Scientology's plans to construct this hall have been in place for about 20 years. And never in 20 years has Scientology ever said they were going to need a street to build the hall. And all previous renderings of this proposed construction included this street being open and available to the public. It was only in the last 6 months that David Miscavige decided, you know what? We think we want that street. And then Scientology's representatives actually started telling the council members that constructing the hall would be impossible without taking ownership of the street. Now, that was a strategic misstep, because then the council members asked, it was Sarah Heller, Scientology's representative, are you telling us that if we do not vote to give you guys this street or to sell you guys this street, you guys are not going to construct L. Ron Hubbard Hall? Oopsie. I think they gave the city a little bit too much leverage. Okay, let's keep reading this. Okay, it continues. Setting aside the fact that there has been no waiving of Attorney General Uthmayer's letter by my client, the letter is quite clear. Quote, a government entity's discrimination based on religion is unconstitutional. It also violates the Florida Civil Rights Act. As Attorney General, I am obliged to protect against such violations. Once again, the AG did not accuse the city of any of these things, just pointed out that if any of these things did occur, it would be under the jurisdiction of the AG. Okay, it continues. This is a statement by the Attorney General and not from the property owner, Scientology. Contrary to the mayor's analysis, the Attorney General has jurisdiction to enforce the laws of Florida, and in this instance appears not only prepared, but obligated to do so. My pearls! Respectfully, I suggest that the city leaders not dismiss the Attorney General's letter. As Councilmember Menino noted at the work session, quote, the pressure we should be feeling is from the state of Florida, and how we interpret their letter and how we handle this process going forward is being watched. We should be careful. Okay, I can tell you that to me, Scientology's attorney quoting a council member that says we should be careful is a threat. To me, it's a threat. I'm sure legally speaking, it's not a threat. I read it as a threat. Okay, this application to vacate a little used segment of South Garden Avenue is entirely consistent with many, many previous applications to vacate city rights of way in order to facilitate significant developments. As I stated in my July 3rd letter, the city is subjecting my client to an unlawful process that has never been imposed on an applicant in a similar situation in the history of Clearwater. To my knowledge, the city has never professed to own the land underlying every right-of-way in Clearwater and has never sought to extract consideration from the adjoining property owners when a platted right-of-way is vacated. The reason for this historical fact is obvious. Disparate treatment is evidence of discriminatory motive and religious animus. Very truly yours, Robert V. Potter. I mean, there you go. Okay. When Scientology's attorney says it is very obvious that the only reason you're treating this process different than the previous process is because of a discriminatory motive and religious animus, and the Attorney General, I want to get the language absolutely correct here, and the Attorney General appears not only prepared to, but obligated to enforce the laws of Florida, which you are breaking. This is, oh, you know, I just realized it's not a threat of a lawsuit because it's actually Scientology threatening the council members, not with a lawsuit, but with criminal actions being brought against them by the state. I actually have failed to differentiate between those things in my mind up until this point. It's not Scientology threatening to sue. It's Scientology threatening that the Florida Attorney General will bring criminal action. And that is actually an even more interesting type of threat. Dare I say the Florida AG may not appreciate Scientology using the AG to threaten the council with. I know I don't get into politics. I keep partisan politics completely off this channel. But because we're dealing with this specific issue, it is worth noting that the wealthiest Scientologist in the world, TRISH DUGGAN, TRISH and her husband, Bob Duggan, are collectively the wealthiest Scientologists in the world. They are the only Scientologist billionaires. They are divorced, and Trish got a hell of a lot of that money, and Trish has been throwing that money around big time. Trish is one of the largest donors to the Florida Republican Party. That's just a fact. Don't blame me. It's a fact. And I have spoken to some Florida Republican insiders who have told me there is very, very much a split in the local and state Republican Party over people, over members, over elected representatives, elected anyone in that party who holds elected office, who are willing to accept TRISH Duggan's Scientology money, or I should say Scientologist TRISH Duggan's money, in return for some favorable treatment to issues concerning Scientology. I do not claim to have any inside knowledge whatsoever about where Florida Attorney General James Uthmeier lands in that divide. But there very much is the divide, because here's the thing. Scientology is very, very, very much disliked in Clearwater, in Pinellas County, and in the state of Florida. That is just a fact. Even if Scientology's money and their lobbyists have purchased them some for sale goodwill and protection by some people in some positions of authority, it's really just a relationship of finance and convenience. Scientology is very, very much disliked. So is it possible that some of Scientology's wealthiest members already know that Florida AG Uthmeier is sympathetic to their cause, and that's why Scientology's attorney is sort of leveraging the Florida AG in these letters? Is that possible? Sure, it's possible. Anything is possible. Is it possible that the Florida Attorney General is in the camp of those who are not willing to be influenced by TRISH Duggan's, Scientologist TRISH Duggan's money? And that is one of the reasons he is simply crossing his T's and dotting his I's and doing the bare minimum that he is constitutionally required to do in order to cover his butt and not looking like he's bigoted against Scientology. That's totally possible as well. I'm sure there are many people in the local Republican Party who understand where Uthmeier sits on this much better than I ever would. But that is what is at play. If Scientology has anyone running cover for them, it is not because any of these elected leaders are Scientologists. It's because of TRISH Duggan's money. So any of you internet super sleuths out there, if you'd like a tree to bark up, it would be trying to track where exactly TRISH Duggan's dollars go, which political action committees do her dollars go to, and which candidates and elected officials does that PAC money go to support? Because that is how influence is being peddled, through TRISH Duggan's money, through political action committees, and then to elected representatives and candidates. I promise you, that is how it is happening. Okay, let's see. That was the end of the letter. Okay. And guys, that is going to be it for me on this stream. I'm going to have to run. Stay tuned. Much more to come, guys. Thanks for hanging out with me. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, if you want to see my rock and roll songs, click right on this guitar. And if you want to see a different one of my videos, then you could click right